the Iranians say very clearly that they in fact want nuclear power solely for peaceful purposes. Are they lying?
Well, they have misled the international community before, and that's why they're in dispute with the International Atomic Energy Authority. There are outstanding issues from before 2003 where the Iranian authorities misled the international community and did not reveal the full nature of their program, and still haven't, to the IAEA. And that's why people don't have confidence in the Iranian claim that they want only to exercise their rights to civilian nuclear power. Remember, there isn't a single civilian nuclear power plant for the enriched uranium that's being produced by the Iranians to go to. And so we're very reasonably asking the question, if the enriched uranium is not going to a civilian nuclear power plant, where's it going?
Exactly. Northern Ireland, a footnote on that, there's probably not a lot to say beyond the fact that everybody except the real IRA are determined that peace will prevail. I mean, there's not much more to be said than that, except how many members are there of the real IRA? Well, and can you find them? People know who they are, they know where they live, don't they?
I think that around the world, people have looked at Northern Ireland in the last 10 years and celebrated the fact that instead of there being soldiers on the streets, there is a civil society, there is a community that has come together and renounced violence. And in the shadow of these terrible shootings over the last 4 or 5 days, the people of Northern Ireland have come onto the streets again and said, not in our name, not the use of violence to pursue political ends. And I very much believe that this is an opportunity for the people of Northern Ireland to show that they're not going to go backwards.
Continuing the tour, Zimbabwe. How close are we getting to the situation where the British government, American government and so on, will deal with the new regime? At the moment, they're on trial, really, to be seen to have made a difference and so on, and that it's starting to work and so on. How has their prospects for being recognised by us or by America improved in the last few weeks, or is it still status quo?
We certainly recognise the government,
yeah.
And we are spending a large amount of money keeping body and soul together for the Zimbabwean people. 50, 60 million pounds a year being spent on aid for the Zimbabwean people. We very much hope that the democratic will of the Zimbabwean people will be reflected in their demand for a change of government in their elections nearly a year ago, last March. Now, Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai, now afflicted by the terrible loss of his wife in this awful car accident, he's got an agreement with President Robert Mugabe about the distribution of portfolios. Robert Mugabe's party has not followed its commitments there. That's very worrying. There are also a large number of political prisoners. And the critical issue is whether or not those members of Mr. Tsvangirai's party who've been given ministerial office are allowed to pull the levers of power. But as soon as we see that this government is implementing the will of the Zimbabwean people, we want the international community to engage.
In our tour, another place we must stop for a moment is Russia. You said some very firm things about we've got to be hard-headed with Russia, even though we're admitting them back into the fold a bit at NATO and so on and so forth. How do you analyse, as you analyse Russia, do you think of it being a country that is still run by Mr. Putin, or that Mr. Medvedev is getting stronger? How do you work this thing?
Well, Mr. Medvedev is the president. He will represent Russia at the G20 summit on the 2nd of April. He's said he's committed to making sure that the rule of law is the defining basis of Russian economy, society and politics, and we very much welcome that. I think the internal politics between Mr. Medvedev and Mr. Putin matters for them, really, rather than for me. But what I think is important that people hear is that we want Russia to be a full member of the international system, and that means Russia exercising its responsibilities as well as exercising its rights.
Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu is on the verge of becoming Prime Minister. He is, as we all know, opposed to a two-state solution. The combination of those two facts don't help the peace process, to put it mildly, but they don't help it, do they?
Well, we are very committed to a two-state solution, a Palestinian state that's able to live on 1967 borders with Israel, Jerusalem, the capital of both, a fair deal for the refugees. I'd also say that we need not just a resolution between Israel and the Palestinians, we need the whole Arab world to come to terms with the establishment of the State of Israel. And I think that the Arab Peace Initiative, the Saudi-created Arab Peace Initiative, is a vital part of this architecture. Because the truth is that the Arab Peace Initiative says, upon the creation of a Palestinian state, all the states of the Arab League, 22 states, will recognize the State of Israel and respect the State of Israel. In other words, a 23-state regional solution, not just a two-state solution.
But the problem also is, though, to get to a two-state solution or whatever, I mean, one can't really see Hamas and the Palestinian Authority agreeing on very much anyway, to get together as one entity to go along with Israel, but to make the two-state, I mean, well, maybe we should be talking to Hamas, as you've said, a lot of people are, well, but maybe we should be.
Well, the Egyptians are. They've been nominated by the Arab League to lead the talks with Hamas. Those talks just started this week, and they're designed to establish an interim, non-factional government across the West Bank and Gaza. We should support that Egyptian effort, because although they've been nominated by the Arab League, they've effectively been nominated by the whole world. Because the truth is, you can't have a viable Palestinian state unless it comprises both the West Bank and Gaza. And the authority of the Palestinian Authority has to run right across those two territories.
Well, the world that you are joined with your colleagues in presiding over, your colleague foreign ministers around the world, do you think the world is safer today?
I think the truth is that the nature of the threats has changed. We've gone from a very clear nuclear threat of confrontation between the Soviet Union and the US towards a more unstable world with many more players, some of them non-state actors. So it's a different kind of danger that we currently face. It's a world where the 24-hour flow of information right around the world, the interdependence of our economy and our climate means that this is a world which if it doesn't come together, will actually end up failing to solve its problems separately. And I think that is the significance across foreign policy, across economic policy, and across environmental policy. What I want for Britain and what the Prime Minister wants for Britain is for us to use our networks in the United Nations, in the European Union, in the Commonwealth, to make sure we're making the maximum possible contribution to the security and prosperity to which we're all dedicated.
And in fact, I mean, Robin Cook used to say those words that he probably regretted saying, but he said that there should be a more ethical foreign policy. Do you agree with him on that?
Well, a foreign policy without values is not a foreign policy that's worth having. Of course a foreign policy should have at its heart the values that we believe in, because in the end, I think it was Henry Kissinger who said that a foreign policy which is born in the heads of a few and carried in the hearts of none will never survive. And that must be true. A foreign policy must be carried in the hearts of many. And to carry a foreign policy in the hearts of many, you need strong values to explain your motivations as well as to guide your actions.
Everybody says, just as we conclude, that you are going to be, probably going to be the next Prime Minister. I suppose I should say the next Labour Prime Minister, because you're not running for the Conservatives as well. But just for clarity's sake, I mean, it's clear to me, isn't it, that you have decided that you would never oppose Gordon Brown in a leadership contest.
Absolutely right. Gordon Brown is going to lead us into the next British election, whenever he decides that should be, and he's going to lead the Labour Party in the country for as long as he likes. And he has proved himself to be an outstanding leader, a man of very strong values, very decisive action on the big issues when it counts, and a real determination, not just to bring Britain together, but to bring the world together, and I think that's a very good thing.
Thank you, David,
Thank you very much.
It's been a delight. Thank you very much. We'll be back in a moment.